Hello again, you two. This is Largo 64. Um, some time ago, I started to write a book, or actually, I've been writing little snippets for a long time, with the idea that eventually I might gather them all together and that the result might be a book. My title of the book was to be False Witness, A Skeptic's View of a Tribal Myth. I was just going through the Bible and using the Zondervan New International Version. It's so that the verses may not actually line up exactly with the King James, which most of you are likely more likely to be familiar with. But the way that the wording is presented makes some of these things a little more clear. I was looking for things on purpose to that are rules given by God in Genesis, Exodus, or in Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy in particular, in this case, that go against the idea of 1 John 4:16. God is love. These are rather unloving things, it seems to me, and yet when ministers read these verses to the congregation from the pulpit, as far as I know, they have never juxtaposed them with 1 John 4:16. I think that might be a good idea, so I'm going to do that. Beginning in Exodus 21, verse 32, if a bull gores a male or female slave, the owner must pay 30 shekels of silver to the master of the slave, and the bull must be stoned. Now, even though an animal is not even aware of such a thing as wrong, God's bloodlust is so great that even a dumb animal has to be murdered for obeying the nature with which God created it. Exodus 22, verse 19, anyone who has sexual relations with an animal must be put to death. Now, in our more civilized times, persons who have sexual relations with animals are considered to be mentally ill, and they receive treatment. The God of love, however, decreed that they should be murdered. God is love. Leviticus 19, verse 20, if a man sleeps with a woman who is a slave girl promised to another man, but who has not been ransomed or given her freedom, there must be due punishment. Yet they are not to be put to death, because she had not been freed. The man, however, must bring a ram to the entrance of the tent of meeting for a guilt offering to the Lord. With the ram of the guilt offering, the priest is to make atonement for him before the Lord for the sin he has committed, and his sin will be forgiven. So it was okay to rape a slave as long as you paid for the privilege. God is love. Leviticus 29, verse 9, if anyone curses his father or mother, he must be put to death. He has cursed his father or mother, and his blood will be on his own head. God is love. Leviticus 20, verse 10, if a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. God is love. Leviticus 20, verse 13, if a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They must be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. God is love. Fred Phelps probably dreams that line. Leviticus 20, verse 14, if a man marries both a woman and her mother, it is wicked. Both he and they must be burned in the fire, so that no wickedness will be among you. Now, maybe you wondered where the Catholics got that fire idea. Leviticus 20, verse 27, a man or a woman who is a medium or spiritist among you must be put to death. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. Bye-bye, Dionne Warwick. Leviticus 21, 9. If a priest's daughter defiles herself by becoming a prostitute, she disgraces her father. She must be burned in fire. God is love. Leviticus 22, verse 10, no one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering, nor may the guest of a priest or his hired worker eat it. But if a priest buys a slave with money, or if a slave is born in his household, that slave may eat the food. If the priest's daughter marries anyone other than a priest, she may not eat of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter becomes a widow or is divorced, yet has no children, and she returns to live in her father's house as in her youth, she may eat of her father's food. No unauthorized person, however, may eat of it. Now, the tribe were to bring offerings from which only the priest could benefit. Sounds just like today's church. Leviticus 26, verse 21, if you remain hostile toward me and refuse to listen to me, I will multiply your afflictions 7 times over, as your sins deserve. I will send wild animals against you, and they will rob you of your children and destroy your cattle and make you so few in number that your roads will be deserted. So ignore God, and he will murder your children. God is love. Leviticus 26, verse 7, if in spite of this you do not listen to me, but continue to be hostile toward me, then in my anger I will be hostile toward you, and I myself will punish you for your sins 7 times over. You will eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. Wow. But God is love. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother and will not listen to them when they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a profligate and a drunkard. Then all the men of his town shall stone him to death. You must purge the evil from among you. All Israel will hear of it and be afraid. And you thought spanking was tough. Deuteronomy 22:28. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay the girl's father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the girl, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. Now get this, the girl has no choice in any of this. She is a rape victim, but being female, she is merely the property of her father. By this edict, she now becomes the property of her rapist. Daddy loses his little girl, but what the hell? 50 shekels is 50 shekels. Deuteronomy 25:11. If 2 men are fighting and the wife of one of them comes to rescue her husband from his assailant, and she reaches out and seizes him by his private parts, you shall cut off her hand. Show her no pity. God is love. Now that's enough for this time. These are just some verses that seem rather striking to me as showing that the God of love is not really so loving, is he? I'm looking for comments. I'm anticipating comments from a few people in particular, but we shall see whether they're even watching my videos anymore. Anyway, all of you who are watching, and especially those of you who rate and comment, thank you very much, and I'll see you.